Hello, everybody. John Stettin passed the wire. The Supreme Court, as most of you already know, has ruled that sports gambling will now be available or at least regulated by the states individually as opposed to being banned in most states and most jurisdictions by the federal government as it had been up until now. A lot of talk and concern this morning about how this is going to affect the thoroughbred industry, our industry, and what it's going to mean going forward. Some people seem to be worried about it. I'm not one of them. I think if anybody should be worried, it should be maybe Las Vegas and Las Vegas tourism. I understand that the casino companies will probably look to expand, but it's certainly going to hurt some of the draw to Las Vegas, and probably more so than it will the thoroughbred industry. But let's stick to our issue and how it's going to affect thoroughbred racing going forward. Like I said, I'm not too worried about it. If anything, I think it can wind up being a positive, and I'll explain why. For many, many years, even through the poker boom, which took off like it was shot out of a cannon, we remained relatively stagnant, with a lot of people saying that we were dying, and we certainly did see, and are continuing to see, attendance dwindle on everything but the big days. And a big part of that is the industry's fault and a lot of racetracks management's fault. We operate in a game where transparency is lacking, where many people feel that a lot is not on the up and up. Drugs are rampant. You can put your head in the sand all you want, but it's an unfortunate part of the game. And, the other inherent issues that, any sport faces, attendance dwindling is a result of those things, along with racetracks, some of them in particular, going out of their way to alienate fans and quote gamblers as opposed to embracing them. Remember, the gambler is the customer. The bettor and the owner are the only two people putting money into the game as opposed to taking it out. They both need to be embraced and on equal levels in different ways. But more on that in a minute. Tracks have operated as if they were the only game in town for a long, long time. And I believe in competition, and I believe that competition will, or should, shall we say, prompt more competitiveness, a bigger desire to keep your customer. If you don't take care of your customer, somebody else will. So while I do think that the gambler and the horse player and the sports bettor are for the most part a different breed, it's going to force racetracks to take a little bit more notice and want to keep their customers, and maybe get a little tougher on certain regulations that they are laxed or inept at enforcing, and maybe become more transparent and maybe become a little bit more bettor friendly. If you're going to the racetrack betting money, it's a little bit different than going to a baseball game watching guys play. When you're betting your money, yeah, you're going to watch a spectator sport. We all know that equine athletes are magnificent. The riders are, pound for pound, the strongest, toughest athletes in the world. And we all love to see the competitiveness on the racetrack. However, many of us, and the large majority of us that go to the racetrack or watch these television shows, are not interested in what kind of hat anybody's wearing, or how you make a mint julep or a daiquiri or anything else. We're betting on the horses. We want to see odds. We want to see will pays. We want to see horses in the paddock, in the post parade, even on the backside working. Those are the things that bettors want to see. If you're going there to bet money, I don't think you should have to worry about getting a good seat. I don't think it's a big deal if they buy you lunch. I don't think you should have to pay for a cup of coffee. And I certainly don't think you should pay to park or get a racing form. Those are all things that they inherently should give to people betting their money. And if they can't figure out how to build that into their takeout and their profitability, then they need better management on top, and maybe less vice presidents making $500,000 and up a year, and more people making a little bit less money that know how to bring in and embrace people. And sports betting might be something that prompts the racetracks and the industry to look at this and say, hey, now there's another game in town. We stand to lose some of our people. We've got to address some of the things and issues that are important to the bettor. That is your customer, the gambler. As much as they like to distance themselves from the gambler and kind of go along with the stereotype of the old guy with the cigar that's just a degenerate, most horse players today do not fit that mold. There are a lot of really sharp bettors out there, and I don't think sports betting can compete with horse racing because of the odds alone. You can do a parlay or a pick three or a pick four on a couple of horses, and it's going to pay way more than 99.9% of sports parlays you can do. You're taking even money, less a vig on any team on any given day. And, that's just something that cannot compete with horse racing, and we have that to our advantage. It's a skill game, it's a science, it should be treated and embraced as such and promoted as such. And I'm just touching on some of the issues now, but hopefully sports betting will open some eyes. This shouldn't come as a surprise to any racetrackers. This is something that's been coming a long time. It was inevitable. It's here now. Hopefully they embrace it and become more competitive and a little bit more friendly to the everyday bettors that are the bread and butter of the game, just like the lower level claimers are the bread and butter of the game. And, get a little bit more cognizant of what it takes to keep people coming out to the racetrack. Make us want to come. It's easy now to bet from home, press a few buttons, bet from your phone, bet poolside or wherever else you may be, or choose to spend your time. You got to make people want to come to the racetrack, and that's not by raising prices and putting it out of reach for a lot of the smaller players and people that just don't see the value in it. So sports betting might open up that door or kick it down. Either way, I think it can be a good thing for the industry if they embrace it, handle it properly, and get more competitive. And those are my initial thoughts on the morning that this was changed by the Supreme Court. We'll see how it plays out going forward, and we'll be back with more. Ciao for now.